Single mums are not your average type of woman, and there are many mixed ideas around whether or not you should date a Filipina who is a single mum or not. So, who should you believe when it comes to deciding to date a Filipina who is single and on her own, or one who has a child? Just before we get into that, be sure to check out my 600+ videos in my various playlists, and be sure to subscribe for all future videos. I am sure most of us who watch videos about Filipinas on YouTube and who read the comments will have seen many people telling others to stay away from Filipinas who are single mothers, and in fairness they do have some valid points in what their reasoning is. Some may say that a relationship with a Filipina with a child is just taking on too much baggage and responsibility, especially if the man is much older and may have had enough of being a father and having children around. And if that's how he feels, then there is nothing at all wrong with that, and he can easily find a single woman who has no child. The reality is that most of us have some sort of baggage, no matter if it's having a child, from ex-partners, or we may have had a rough childhood. None of us are really baggage-free, and that is called life. Not everything is rosy or perfect all the time, and the things that happen in our life certainly have an impact on us as we move forward in life. When someone says to people, stay away from single Filipina moms, that is their own personal view, and as I say, that's fine for them, but for others it may not be so. Whether you go into a relationship with a single Filipina or one who already has a child, that is totally a decision to be made on personal preference, and simply there are no right or wrong answers or decisions here. But there are certainly consequences that may come about from making either choice that one should really consider very carefully before dating any woman in the Philippines. If a man chose a woman who didn't have a child already, then what's the chances she will want a child into the future with you? Now she may say to you at the start of the relationship she is okay not having a child, but will that change as time goes on? And will she get pregnant on purpose? Being that the man chose a Filipina who didn't have a child already, was it realistic for him to think that the young Filipina, possibly in her 20s, would want to go through life with no children at all? Is that really a fair expectation to have from her? And then what happens after a few years of being together and she falls pregnant? How will you handle that situation? Will it cost you the relationship, as trust issues would certainly come into play here? A big thing to remember here when choosing a Filipina is that the younger they are, the more unpredictable and changeable they are likely to be, and there is no debate on that, as it's all well documented in literature. So it is rather ironic that a man who chooses not to date a woman who has a child, say 7 or 8 years of age, ends up with a single woman in her early 20s and then ends up being a father to a newborn baby. Can you see the irony in all of this? Now if the man was to choose a woman around the 30 years of age mark who has a child already, as I say 6 to 10 years old for example, then the man needs to step up in the relationship and become a father figure to the child, providing love, care and stability for the child. So clearly that is a big responsibility and not something to take on lightly. One must be prepared to give his all in that part of the relationship. Doing this for many men can also have great rewards. I know for me, in the nearly 4 years my stepdaughter has been here living with us, I have enjoyed it very much and I love her like I would my own children. She does make my life much more rewarding and satisfying for sure. The other upside to dating a Filipina with a child is that she will most likely be more mature than a young 20-year-old single woman with no ties. Most likely she will be more stable and settled in life and will be a more independent woman who is unlikely to have big changes in her life. As between the ages of 18 to 30 are when most people experience the biggest changes in their lives as they grow and find out who they are and what direction they want to take in life. So for me at least, how I look at this, is that many Filipinas who may have a child and are over the age of 30 can be a fantastic choice if one is looking for a very stable Filipina to be in a relationship with for the long term, and the child can actually turn into a positive and not a negative. It's really all in the way we look at things. As I say, these are my own thoughts on this and everyone is different. What has worked for me may not be ideal for others, and that's fine. Just be sure to think through all the possible consequences of your choices. Sure, no one can see or predict the future, but one can certainly look at what possibilities may lay ahead from the choices we make. But in reality, either a single Filipina or one with a child is okay depending on the person and what they want from the relationship. Where it can get a little more difficult, and this may be digressing a little from the topic, is around dating a Filipina who either has a child or doesn't have a child that has been married in the Philippines. Now, as many may know, once a Filipina has been married in the Philippines, then she is always considered a married woman in that country, as there are no divorce laws there. This, combined with the fact that adultery is illegal and punishable by up to 6 years in jail, really screams to me not to enter any relationship with a Filipina who has been married in the Philippines. It really opens the door for a third party or even the Filipina to threaten to file a case against you, which can be very scary in itself, whether or not they intend to carry out the threat. It could be just a way to try and make some money from you. That aside, if you do start a relationship with a married woman in the Philippines, then sure, you can get an annulment, but no, it will take several years to complete and several thousands of dollars, and that is something one must be prepared for. Especially if you intend on living in the Philippines with her in your retirement or visiting there on a regular basis. I am really interested in knowing what type of Filipina are you dating or married to? Or what type that we have mentioned here are you currently looking for? Please feel free to put your comments below. Thanks for watching, stay safe and take care.